Well, I guess it's time for another Semblence episode. Hello everyone, and welcome back. Sorry for any bad audio in this video, because I'm recording in a very ghetto recording station in my grandmother's house in London at the moment. I first want to say thank you for the wonderful support and reception on the Yang video, but thinking back to it makes me think about the most famous Semblence question in RWBY, Jaune arc. Jaune's Semblence has been a mystery since Volume 1, with the creators offering plenty of clues. I've done a lot of research and thinking, and I think I've nailed Jaune's Semblence. Firstly, I rewatched the entirety of RWBY Volume 1 to 3, then I rewatched them because they were so good I forgot to take notes. Seriously, I forgot how funny they were. Maybe his semblance is his great legs. I mean, I'm totally straight. But seriously, the creators have left us a lot of clues throughout the earliest volumes. However, to start to solve Jaune's Semblence, we first had a look at Team Juniper and some history. Each member of Team Juniper is a gender-bent version of a character from history or mythology. Nora is based on Thor from Norse mythology, and so is the power of absorbing lightning to reference that. Ren is based off Hao Mulan from the Chinese story The Ballad of Mulan, which in turn inspired the Disney movie. Mulan was able to blend in as a man inside the Chinese military and hid in plain sight. Ren's ability to hide from Grimm reflects this. The historical relation between Pyrrha and her counterpart Achilles is a bit of a stretch. Achilles, as I mentioned, is based off the warrior, Pyrrha is based off of the warrior Achilles from Greek mythology. Her polarity is a possible reference to his use of weapons and armour on the battlefield. And Jaune, of course, is based off Joan of Arc, a French warrior during the 100-Year War. So what could Jaune's semblance be in order to reflect Joan of Arc? Well, Joan of Arc was famous for two major things during the 100-Year War, her leadership skills, and her claim to be sent and protected by God. The fact that she was burned alive makes this point a tiny bit more awkward to say. Leadership, Jaune definitely has in spades. But what of the protection? That is what I think Jaune's semblance is. Let's look at some evidence. Jaune, ever since his first appearance in Volume 1, was presented as our everyman, the baseline character who we could connect to and show how powerful the other characters were in comparison to regular people. But Jaune shows some pretty amazing abilities that be near impossible, really. First, which is probably the most notable thing people remember when relating to Jaune's semblance, was his ability to stop Cardan's punch in Volume 1, and the punch hurting Cardan instead. However, we also know more about Jaune's possible semblance. Jaune has miraculously survived things that he should not have been able to, defeating a Deathstalker with the help of Team Juniper, killing an Ursa Major with the influence of Pyrrha, and surviving a direct hit from the full maiden-powered Cinder. All of these are rather debatable moments. How could an untrained person survive all this? If my theory is correct, Jaune's semblance gives him a form of powerful shield he can manipulate around his body. Semblance is tied to aura, so one of our biggest and most intriguing pieces of evidence can actually be found in the scene Jaune unlocks his aura for the first time. Pyrrha notes he has a lot of it, which could show the purity of Jaune's soul, or it could mean something a lot more. Jaune's semblance has been shown to heal a cut on his cheek instantly. Never before or ever again do we see an aura healing a character with such speed. Could this be the work of his divine shield? And possibly the most interesting point, rewatching the scene in which they first enter the Emerald Forest, I found it incredibly interesting. Falling at such an incredible speed, how did the character who's supposed to be a normal human survive this, even with the help of Pyrrha? To see how important this would have been, we first need to get a little help from our friends Math and his arrogant older brother Physics, to see just how much damage Jaune would have actually taken. Now this calculation is actually a lot harder than it seems, so I probably made a lot of mistakes seeing as I'm on the go. But we've got to guess and assume a lot of things about the world of Remnant, so this could be off by quite a lot. First off, we don't know the gravity of Remnant. In our real world, our gravity is 9.8 meters per second. However, in the world of RWBY, we know it's different. The gravity is actually near impossible to calculate, as it's shown to be different in multiple scenes, as well as the use of gravity dust. So I'm going to give it a rough estimate as about 9 meters per second, because of the fact that people are able to jump and move a lot faster. It's a small bit less than our real world equivalent, but unfortunately, gravity is actually not the only force acting on Jaune in that scene. We also have the launch pad. So I did some pixel measurements, and it takes Jaune's feet 0.26 seconds to reach where his head was in the previous position. Jaune is 1.85 meters tall, so we can calculate the acceleration of the launch pad to be 6.923 meters per second. So these are just some weird figures, but they all make sense in the end. So we need to figure out Jaune's weight for this next calculation. We actually can't find this because while his height is provided, Jaune's weight is not. Jaune's physical structure mostly resembles that of an American football player with a strong, thick upper body and smaller leg structure. An average American football player weighs about 120 kilograms, and being unsure of his weapons and armor, I added about 20 kilograms to be safe. So looking at some angles, I found the resultant force of both the gravity and the launch pad after calculating the force to be 1,142 newtons, or 8.162 meters per second. But after all of this, he begins falling down, which adds the 9 meters per second gravity we estimated to be his acceleration to be the absurd speed of 17.162 meters per second. We can then use the equation v is equal to u plus at to calculate his final velocity. However, for that we also need the time. I rewatched the scene. It takes Jaune roughly 54 seconds to be caught by Pyrrha. Sub that in, and that gives us 926.748 meters per second. Ignoring terminal velocity, which is highly possible as an influence, this is a highly absurd number. This means by the time that Jaune is caught, he is moving at over 2,000 miles per hour. Give or take. My math isn't good. We can convert these numbers back to newtons to give us the incredible number of 129,744 newtons. This number is absolutely ludicrous. Not only would Jaune be dead, he would be liquidized. This is more than enough force to smash through steel. Could it be plot armor or Jaune's semblance at work? Nearly 100% plot armor. But I'm using it as evidence anyway. Perhaps Jaune's semblance is so hard to see because it's so similar to Aura. But anyway, that's just a theory. Wait, wrong channel. Thank you for watching this episode. Let me know if you like these more comical science-based theory episodes, or you prefer the scene-based theory. Send me any theories or creepypastas you'd like me to cover on the channel, and remember to like and subscribe and share this video so I know to make more of this style. Make sure to join my Discord group if you want to meet me or hear about projects before they're released. I've been Duck, and thank you very much for watching. I can't even say that sentence. It's so hot in here.